UFP, the United Federation of Podcasts.
Welcome, listeners, to another episode of All Good Things, a Star Trek Universe podcast here on United Federation of Podcast Network. I'm your host, Amy Nelson, and we have back with us Patrick Devlin. Pat, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's been a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's been a little while. I've been amazingly super busy with no job, so I don't know how that happened, but I'm teaching a 9-year-old, a 6-year-old, a bunch of 20-something-year-olds who act like 6-year-olds 4 nights a week. And
cooking and...
Lots of cooking. I've been doing lots and lots of cooking. Really good cooking.
I know, listeners, he'd be like, I'm going to make this tonight. I'm like, oh, why am I so far away?
I made... the new things I made tostones a few times. I've made Korean barbecue.
Oh, yeah.
Slow cooked smoked ribs. That one's not new. The other two are new. I made a couple other new dishes that I have never tried before, but I had all the time in the world, right? So
yeah, wow. Well, welcome back. We miss you, and so glad to get on mic with you.
You can find the network on Twitter and Facebook at UFP Earth. And if you'd like to send us an email, you can message the network at contact@ufp.earth.
And we do hope to get an email. We haven't had one yet, and we are on episode 18.
Yeah, but neither of us are actually on episode 18 yet.
Well, but there have been 18 episodes of All Good Things, and we haven't
in fact,
email.
17 I didn't even know existed till it existed.
Yeah, I snuck that one in.
All of a sudden, I'm like, wait a second, I wanted to talk about that. Oh, well. Ironically, though, my schedule should be getting easier because it's going to get really harder now. Because Tuesday, I'm being forced back to work.
Oh.
But that means I can't be doing all the other stuff around here I've
been
doing. So I should actually have time to record.
Isn't that just crazy how ass backwards things have been?
Yes, but in fairness, my wife's not just dumping everything at my feet. She's made over 4,000 masks now. We've broken a machine. We've bought 2 new ones, and so she's been very, very busy. I've been also cutting those masks, which takes significantly less time than it does to sew them, but so that's part of what's been keeping us so busy as well.
Yeah. No, you definitely have been doing a lot, and just thank you for your efforts there in New York, for sure.
Oh, yeah, it's been brutal.
Yeah.
Been brutal. And now I got to go build a train station again.
Oh, yeah.
Going back to that wall. I sent you the picture.
Yeah, those tall.
There.
Yeah. Okay, well, listeners, we are going to talk about fake families. And I guess you could consider this a part 2 because 2 weeks ago we covered Frame of Mind from Next Generation and Hard Time that was on Deep Space Nine. And so those are sort of fake realities that seemed totally real, but created like using mind probes. So we're still going on this fake theme going on, and really surprising how much Star Trek, and in every seasons, there's been some kind of fake reality. It's been interesting.
Well, yeah, but fake realities are kind of a mainstay of sci-fi to begin with. But more importantly, I think in doing this, the more surprising thing to me is in Star Trek, they're not fake. They don't consider them fake families. Star Trek itself does not consider them fake, which is very evident in at least one of these episodes.
What do you mean not considered not fake?
They're not considered fake. So eventually we're going to get into, see, you make me jump around. This is you. This one's on you. So in the DS9 episode Shadowplay, it is very evident that Star Trek believes that despite the family being holograms, they are every bit as real as any other family that's in the universe.
Oh, I would fill that with Oasis. Well, I don't know. Okay.
No, I think I just think it's the most evident in that. I mean, the conversation literally takes place.
That's true.
There's an actual full conversation where Odo says to him, what makes them any less real?
Yeah.
Because the guy who created the family was willing to walk away at that point. And Odo's like, well, hold on. I saw the way you hugged.
Yeah. And that those feelings made it real.
Taya, right? Taya?
Yeah.
Well, ironically here, I can remember her other... she's also in The Next Generation, right?
Yes, she is.
She's in Imaginary Friends,
Yes,
and she's Clara Sutter. And I can remember that name, no problem. But apparently the one we're going to talk about tonight, I can't remember that name at all.
Yeah. Well, listeners, we have 4 episodes that we're going to cover. And we're just going to give a real quick synopsis that I found off of Memory Alpha. So, Pat, why don't you start us off with the Enterprise?
Okay, so Enterprise episode Oasis, which is season 1, episode 19. The crew finds a derelict starship from which they are salvaged some supplies, only they find the ship is not quite as deserted as they were led to believe. Because
they scan and there's no life signs.
Yes, I'm thinking of something else now.
Okay. Yeah.
Continue.
So, they scan and there's no life signs. And we have and this is when I texted you the not Odo.
Yes. Okay. So, yes, very long days. Did watch this like a week ago. But actually, this one I probably watched 3 days ago. But point being is I was remembering the end of another episode with this episode. So, sorry.
Yeah.
I was thinking the TNG episode we're about to talk about in here. So.
Oh, well, then let me get to the TNG. We're going to cover Survivors.
Yes.
Season 3, episode 3. And the Enterprise investigates 2 survivors living on the only undamaged patch of land on a devastated planet. And this is the one where Troy has the music box in her head and it won't shut off and she has to get sedated. Yeah.
Which she claims won't even work because she'll still hear it.
Yeah. It's in her psyche. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so for whatever reason, I was seeing the building from this episode in the Enterprise episode in my head. But I screwed that one up completely. Now, that moves on to Deep Space Nine Shadowplay, which is season 2, episode 16, which we already talked about, actually. But at a colony in the Gamma Quadrant, Dax and Odo investigate the mysterious disappearance of several colonists.
Yeah. And in Voyager, Real Life, season 3, episode 22, this is where we have the Doctor learns a few real-life lessons with the holographic family he created.
Yes. Even though in the beginning he was learning nothing.
Absolutely. Until we get Roxana Dawson is the actress.
Yeah, I know her real name.
Torres. B'Elanna.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, until B'Elanna Torres goes in and mixes things up and makes it a real family.
Yeah. Yes. A little overly sad at the end, but that didn't necessarily need to happen that way to make the point the episode was making. But it definitely makes the point the episode is making. Mm-hmm. And again, shows this is what I mean by in Star Trek, these fake families. We're using the wrong term.
Yeah. What should we
They're
use?
not fake. I don't know, because they are fake entities, but they're not fake families. So before we get into all the stuff you want to get into.
Okay.
Before we get into all the stuff you want to get into, because you want me jumping around all over the place, out of these 4, which one's your favorite?
Yeah, gosh.
I have 2 separate answers.
All so good. I'm actually not going to say Survivors. I'm going to put that one actually last.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
What I liked about Oasis was that they started knowing that there's no one there. So the suspense of Oasis was head and shoulders above everyone else. So I don't know, but I know Survivors for me is last.
Okay, so I can answer this question. Which one was the most memorable one? Which one did you go read the name and know what the episode was? And then I'll give you the answer for my 2.
Well, I didn't know any of them except TNG Survivors because I know TNG.
So that's your most memorable.
Yeah.
Okay, my most memorable one is Shadowplay. for whatever reason, every so often, if I think about DS9, it's the episode I think. It's one of the most memorable episodes of DS9 for me for some reason. I don't know why, but it is. Because nothing really crazy happens where it should be that, but I just really like the story.
Yeah.
But it's still not my favorite. And in fact, Survivor is my favorite of the 4.
Oh.
My most memorable is Shadowplay, which would make it 2 or 3 depending on the day then,
right,
on favorites. But Voyager is my least favorite.
Oh, interesting.
The beginning being the way it is and so phony, I just kind of fall out of the episode before we get to the parts that matter.
Oh, I see. Yeah. It loses you before it gets...
Yeah. Which I understand that's the point. Like,
right,
the point is for it to be so phony, but I just kind of don't find it interesting till we get to the good stuff. And by then, you're already like, oh, I already missed all the stuff that matters.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
You know, and I think Voyager is the one that the doctor's family was the B plot, or that there was an A and B, where the other 3, that was the main story.
Yes. Yes, because in Shadowplay there was an A and B also, but
the B part was
the fake family was the A story.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Whereas Enterprise and Survivor, really, that was the plot.
That was the plot, yeah.
You know, so, but yeah, I agree. I don't know. Look, part of it too is when you turn it on, you go, well, any episode having to do with the Doctor is a fake family. He's a hologram.
Yeah.
So, like, for this particular conversation, we could have used any episode and pointed out how they interact with him, and it works for this particular episode of All Good Things. But obviously, that this is more poignant, but it's a fake family of a fake family person.
Yeah.
Also, which kind of makes it a little weaker for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to get to just a couple of topics and sort of analyze these 4 episodes and talk about, like, what circumstances were they created, and then talk about the reasons why did they feel the need to create the family. So those are the 2 topics that I want to get through. And so, and then in the end, we'll wrap it up and talk about how it's going to be in our life and why sci-fi uses this trope so many times. So that's sort of the direction I have planned.
Okay.
All right.
You can try.
So under what circumstances are these fake realities created?
Well, so ironically, not all of them, 3 of them, surely, were created solely out of the fact of missing someone or love.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have that in Survivor. You have that, which is very odd that you have a conscientious objector in this episode as well, by the way. And it's not a story it's not something that's touched on very often. I have a really weird tie-in to conscientious objectors as an anecdotal story in a minute. But so you have that in Survivors. You have the old man wanting his family, so he allowed the holograms to be able to have children and grow, and they have no idea that they're these things, and like he keeps playing the role until it's finally they turn it off and he's still there, because at some point they believe that all of them were fake, none of them were real, and he never wants them to know, because now that they know they're not real, he doesn't want them to know he's different from them, which is a little weird. And even in real life with Voyager, he creates it so he can understand what family dynamics are. So maybe they're not created out of the need for love, but they are created and end up in that same area.
Yeah, I think, yeah, exactly. Like in Survivors, like Kevin Uxbridge, his wife died. And so that little patch of land, that little serenity, and both Kevin and Rurigan in Shadowplay didn't tell the fake people that they were fake.
Until there was no other option.
Right. But in the Enterprise Oasis, like, she knew that the others weren't real. So Enterprise was different. And then, I don't know, you can't really talk about real life because it's a hologram.
Yeah, so, right. they don't know, but he knows and everyone else knows that they're not real.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like they found a family